Next, situation comedy, and a classic comes to life. Hello there, this is Victor Ives on the Golden Age of Radio Theater. Once again, this is the program that turns back the clock to relive those golden moments of radio's yesteryear to bring you more of the greatest radio shows of all time. We have a good pair of programs for you this time. Comedy with the Great Gildersleeve, starring Hal Perry. And then later this hour, this was always one of my favorites as a kid. We're going to bring you the radio dramatization of Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. But first, from June 25th, 1944, the Great Gildersleeve. And in this program, Gildy apparently wins the primary election.
Now let's get up to date on the Great Gildersleeve. It's late Sunday night. The final week of campaigning is over, and only one day remains before the good citizens of Summerfield go to the polls to cast their ballots in the primary. It's been a hard week, but the decision now is in the lap of the gods, and candidate Gildersleeve is in the arms of Morpheus. Through his weary brain run troubled fantasies, and he tosses and twists in his sleep as he argues with himself. If he gets the nomination Tuesday, he's as good as elected.
That's nice.
And if he's elected mayor, Eve Goodwin has promised to marry him.
Ooh, that's nice.
But if Eve marries him, Mother Goodwin comes to live with them.
No.
Throckmorton, drop
Away.
Time to get up, darling.
Oh, Eve?
No, darling. It's Mother. Throckmorton. Come, darling. The sun is shining. The birds are singing. And I have a nice bowl of grape nuts waiting for you. Throckmorton.
Take it easy, Mother. Tomorrow is another day.
But have you forgotten?
What?
This is your wedding day.
No. Well, Marjorie, aren't you going to wish your Uncle luck?
Oh, Uncle Mort.
Why, Marjorie?
I'll never see you again. I just know it.
Why, of course you will.
Unc. Hey, Unc, before you go.
Little Leroy. What is it, my boy?
Unc, I'm sorry about everything.
Sorry about what? What are you talking about?
Come along, Throckmorton.
Oh, but Mother, I haven't even said goodbye. Wait, there's Bertie.
Goodbye, Mr. Gildersleeve. You're the best man I ever worked for, that's a fact.
Come along, Throckmorton.
No, look what you've done.
Come along.
Do you, Throckmorton P. Gildersleeve, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife?
I know you. You're Judge Hooker.
Answer the question.
I object.
Objection overruled. Do you or do you not take this woman to be your wedded wife?
I guess so.
That's better. And do you, Eve Goodwin, take this man to be your lawful wedded husband?
Of course she does. Don't you, Eve?
Now, Mother, let
She
me...
takes him, Judge. Go on with the ceremony.
The ring, please.
Oh, Peavy, you got the ring?
Huh? Oh, yes. Yeah, the ring. Let me see now. This ring, I have it here.
Well?
Just get my glasses on here. That's funny. I remember just as plainly.
Peavy, you're the worst best man in the world.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that. Now, what do you know about that?
Have you got the ring?
Yes, there it was all the time, right on the end of my nose.
It's a wonder you wouldn't look there in the first place.
Place the ring on the lady's finger. That's right. Now, I now pronounce you man and wife.
Old goat.
$2, please. You may now kiss the bride.
There's no time for that. We got to rush for the train.
Train? What train? Where are we going?
On our honeymoon. Hurry.
Honeymoon? Eve, you don't mean Mother.
Oh, I wouldn't think of going anywhere without Mother, dear.
I can't go through with it. I can't go through with it.
Unc, time to get up. Gotta get up, Unc. It's almost 9 o'clock.
Where's my... What you fella? Huh? Gee. That you, Leroy?
Sure, it's me. What's the matter with you?
Oh, tell me something, Leroy.
What?
I'm not married, am I?
Are you kidding?
Of course I'm not married. We haven't even set a date for the wedding. Everything's all right, huh? Just a bad dream.
Hurry up, Unc. Breakfast has been ready for an hour.
Don't go away, Leroy. Leroy!
What's the matter?
Don't leave me, my boy. Stay here with your old uncle.
For corn's sake. Aren't you going to get dressed?
Right away. I'll get right up and... Ooh. Where are my slippers?
Slippers? Where'd you leave them? Oh, here they are. Catch! Oh, gosh, I didn't mean to hit you, Unc.
It's all right, Leroy. It's perfectly all right. I forgive you.
Huh? What a character.
We'll be back to the Great Gildersleeve in just a moment. Now back to Hal Perry as the Great Gildersleeve.
Oh, that must be Eve and her mother now.
Oh, good morning, Marjorie.
Good morning, Mrs. Goodwin.
Oh, brother.
Come right in. Uncle Mort's just sitting down to breakfast.
Oh, breakfast, Mercy. We had breakfast 2 hours ago.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello, Eve. Good morning, Mother.
Hi.
You know, Throckmorton and Eve, I've been thinking about you children, and do you know what I think you ought to do?
What?
Why don't you elope?
Mother.
That's what I do. I wouldn't wait. I'd get married right away.
Oh, what a wonderful romantic idea.
You stay out of this, Marjorie.
Mother, you're putting Throckmorton in a very difficult position.
Just the position he wants to be in. I know men. They're always impatient. Now, I talked the whole thing over with Dr. Pendleton, and he says he can marry you Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon. Mother, that's day after tomorrow.
Why, Dr. Pendleton? Dr. Needham is the man I go to for all that. Dr. Needham is my pastor.
Well, I go to a different church, Throckmorton. If anyone but Dr. Pendleton performed the ceremony, I just couldn't consider you married. Now about the honeymoon.
Oh, Mother, this is ridiculous. Let's discuss one thing at a time, please.
You're right, Eve.
Well, there's nothing ridiculous about it. If you got married right now, I have a friend who owns a summer hotel, and you could get in before the season opens. You remember Helen Pepper, Eve. She has that little place on Lake Pascusi.
I don't want to go to Mrs. Pepper's hotel, Mother.
You must learn to think of your husband's pocketbook, my dear. If you go to a hotel out of season, it will make a substantial saving in the cost of your wedding trip. When your father and I went to Niagara, the falls were frozen solid, but our room was only $1 a day.
Why don't you wait till winter, Unc?
Leroy, this is a grown-up conversation.
Well, Leroy is my nephew, and he should be allowed to put in his 2 cents worth. That's not a bad suggestion, my boy.
Yeah, I'd like to see the falls frozen solid.
Well, you won't be there, Leroy. Hot or cold, you won't be there.
Well, you young people can suit yourself about the honeymoon, but I wouldn't put off this wedding if I were you.
But, Mother, why not? Why the rush all of a sudden?
Yes. Why the rush?
Well, I can't explain it, but I've just got a feeling in my bones.
Oh, now, Mother, those feelings in your bones.
Don't laugh at my bones, Eve. I predicted World War II. And I've got a feeling that if you two aren't married right away... Well, after all, neither of you are growing any younger.
Mother. I think Mother and I better go now, Throckmorton.
You just think it over now, and I'm sure you'll see it my way. It will be at our house, of course, Throckmorton.
At your house.
Come along, Mother, for goodness sake. Will you call me later, Throckmorton?
Yes, Eve. I think we ought to discuss this a little.
There's nothing to discuss. Come along, Eve.
Are you coming with us, Marjorie?
Oh, yes, I'm all ready.
Goodbye, Throckmorton. Goodbye, Leroy.
Goodbye, Mother. Say goodbye, Leroy.
Goodbye, Grandma. Well, Uncle, you're all set, I guess.
Yes. I'm all set.
She's giving you a nice break, isn't she, Uncle?
How do you mean, my boy?
Well, I thought you didn't get to marry her unless you won the election.
Oh, well, the election is in the bag. The paper says I'm 2-1 over Terwilliger.
Yeah, Terwilliger's practically quit.
That's the trouble with Terwilliger. He's yellow. He could still win if he'd put up a fight. Why, if I... Listen, Leroy, you go on about your business. I've got work to do.
What kind of work?
Never mind. You go out and play. Go buy a baseball glove or something.
Oh, gosh, aren't you even going to eat your breakfast?
Later, my boy. I've got some phone calls to make first. Run along, Leroy.
Okay. Goodbye.
Now, I'll start with the A's. Adams. Hello, Mr. Adams. Are you a registered voter? Well, vote for Terwilliger tomorrow. Oh, never mind who I am. I'm just a friend of good government.
From June 25th, 1944, you're listening to The Great Gildersleeve with Hal Perry on the Golden Age of Radio Theater.
Now let's hurry back to the Great Gildersleeve, who by this time is a very uneasy man. It's Tuesday night, the polls have closed, dinner's over, and our candidate is down at his headquarters, biting his nails and wiping the sweat off his brow as he listens to the returns coming in.
Terwilliger 347, Gildersleeve 693.
That's the stuff.
Quiet, Judge.
9th Precinct, final returns. Terwilliger 531, Gildersleeve 1,539.
By golly, Gildy, it's a landslide.
Well, now, I wouldn't say that.
Peavy's right, Judge. Terwilliger can still show some unexpected strength, you know.
Well, that seems to be all the returns we have at the present time. We'll bring you further returns
Turn
when
it off,
they're
Peavy.
available. Meanwhile, stay tuned to WSUM for complete...
Well, Gildy, the old fox has done it again.
Done what?
I told you I'd make you mayor, whether the people want you or not.
I'm not mayor yet.
Oh, don't be silly. You see the way the returns are going.
Well, now, there's an old saying, Judge. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
And there's another old saying, Peavy. There's many a slip twixt the cup and the lip.
Yes, and there's another old saying. Money a mickle makes a muckle.
Yeah. What's that got to do with this or anything else?
Well, nothing, I guess, but it's an old saying.
Well, keep it to yourself.
Well, no offense, Mr. Gildersleeve. I merely offered an observation.
Our friend seems a little testy this evening, Peavy. You don't suppose his high office has gone to his head already?
I'm tired, Judge, that's all. I've had a hard day. I'm sorry, Peavy.
Oh, that's all right, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Where have you been all day, Gildy? I haven't seen you around.
Oh? Well, I was down in the gas house district doing a little last-minute campaigning, Judge. The boys there told me it looked a little doubtful.
Oh, you've got nothing to worry about.
That's what you think, brother. Hey, what's that?
What?
That noise. It's outside in the street.
I'll go look.
Turn on the radio, Peavy. See if anything's happened.
It's a crowd, Gildy. They're gathering outside.
According to final returns, although there are several precincts yet to be heard from, Mayor Terwilliger conceded the election to his
What?
opponent, Mr. Gildersleeve, at 8:45 this evening.
Conceded?
As soon as complete returns come through, we will relay them to you without delay.
They're calling for you, Gildy. They want you to speak to us.
I won't do it.
Oh, come on. Come here at the window. Come on, Gildy. Say a few words to them. That's the stuff. Quiet, folks. Quiet, please. Quiet, quiet. Here he is, folks. I give you your newly elected mayor. Hooray!
What do you say, Gildersleeve?
I demand a recount. Yeah, it's me, Leroy.
Congratulations, Mayor Gildersleeve. Whoopee! Congratulations, Unky darling.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Gildersleeve. I never thought you'd make it, but you did.
Thank you, Bertie.
Gosh, my uncle's the mayor and my aunt's the principal of the school. That makes me practically the Prince of Wales.
Try to be a little quiet, my boy. I've had a very exhausting day. Oh, my goodness. Whoever that is, I don't want to see him.
I'll go. I'll shoot him away.
Good evening, Marjorie. Is your uncle home?
Well,
I saw him come in, honey.
Oh. Well, he's resting. He's resting, Mrs. Ransom.
Well, I just wanted to congratulate him, but I can do it tomorrow.
Is that you, Leela?
Oh, don't let me disturb you, Throckmorton. I know you're tired.
That's all right. Come on in.
Throckmorton, I heard about your victory over the radio, and I just want to tell you I think it's wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Leela.
That's nothing, Mrs. Ransom. He's going to get married tomorrow.
What's that, Leroy?
Uncle Miss Goodwin are going to get married.
Leroy, will you run away, please? Go upstairs and do your homework.
I haven't done any till September.
Well, do something.
Can I go out in the street and light a bonfire?
Yes, do anything you want, Leroy, only not in here. You too, Marjorie.
Come on, Leroy.
Okay. Hey, let's go out on the porch and see if anything happens.
Is that true, Throckmorton, what Leroy said just now?
I don't know, Leela. I guess so.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, Throckmorton, I've said this before, but I didn't mean it. I hope you'll be very happy. Honestly.
Why, Leela.
Aren't I silly?
Oh, I don't think so. I think you're one of the sweetest girls I've ever known.
Oh, thank you, Throckmorton. Have you got a handkerchief?
Huh? Oh, here. No. Let me.
Oh, I ought to be ashamed. I'm pretty big to be.
Nothing to be ashamed of. I feel a little myself.
I don't suppose you'll be having a very elaborate wedding, will you, Throckmorton? On such short notice, I mean.
No. Just the families, I guess.
I thought so. If you'd had a church wedding, I might have just slipped in at the back for a minute, all by myself.
I wish you were going to be at this thing tomorrow.
Do you, Throckmorton?
Might make everything seem a little more familiar.
Oh. You won't miss me, but I hope we'll see each other occasionally after your... I mean, we aren't going to be strangers, are we?
Never, Leela. You stand for something in my life. You stand for...
He's right in the living room, Mrs. Goodwin.
Mrs. G... Oh, for heaven's sake.
Good evening, Throckmorton. I couldn't wait to run over and congratulate you. I want you to... Oh, I didn't know you had company.
This is Mrs. Ransom, Mother. She's an old friend of the family. Lives right next door.
How do you do?
I'm so happy to meet you, Mrs. Goodwin. Throckmorton has told me such lovely things about you.
Really?
Oh, yes. And, of course, I know your daughter very well, but I must be running along. I imagine you'll be wanting to talk about the wedding and all.
Well, there are one or two things.
Oh, I'm sure there are. Any wedding is complicated, but these last-minute affairs...
Why,
Goodbye, Mrs. Goodwin. Goodbye, Throckmorton.
Goodbye, Leela.
I won't mention this to Eve, Throckmorton. It might upset her.
But there's nothing. But Leela and I are old friends.
Just the same, I'll keep it to myself. I simply came over to congratulate you, Throckmorton. I want you to know that Eve and I are proud of you. I'll be proud to have you as a son-in-law.
Well, I'll try to be worthy of you, Mother. I'll try to be worthy of Eve.
Oh, that's a fine spirit, son. Now, we better plan a few little things about tomorrow. Have you packed?
Packed? I don't even know where I'm going.
Well, you'll be going somewhere. I've already started packing for Eve. You better get busy this evening.
I suppose so.
Now, when you're packing, I wonder if you'd put in this little bottle of iron tablets. Eve needs them, but she won't admit it.
Iron tablets? All right.
Make her take one before each meal.
Before?
Yes. And Throckmorton, be sure to see that she gets plenty of fresh air.
Oh, I will.
And one more thing.
Hey, turn on the radio. Something's gone wrong.
Huh? What are you talking about, Leroy?
I don't know. I don't believe it, but a guy just said turn on the radio.
But Mayor Terwilliger has conceded the election.
Never mind, Mother. Let's listen to whatever it is.
Apparently, the unexpected has happened. But then in politics, the unexpected often does. Veteran observers were recalling the situation in California in 1916 when Hughes went to bed president only to find in the morning that Wilson had won.
What happened?
Anyhow, the fact is that belated returns from the so-called gas house district have wiped out Mr. Gildersleeve's lead and elected Terwilliger by exactly 3 votes.
What? Isn't that terrible? I've lost.
Oh, Throckmorton, I can't tell you how sorry I am.
Oh, now, Mother, no use crying over spilt milk. I fought hard and Terwilliger won. That's life. Oh, that's politics. You gotta take the bitter with the sweet.
You're very brave, Throckmorton. But I want you to know that Eve is brave, too. Eve will stand by you through thick and thin.
But, Mother...
And I'll stand by Eve.
Why, George, I'm going right over and talk to your daughter. You stay right there. I've got to talk to you.
Oh, Throckmorton, I'm glad you're here. Come in.
Your mother was just over at my house. I left her there.
I know. I couldn't stop her. Mother's so impulsive.
You heard how the voting came out?
Yes, darling, I heard. Come in and sit down.
I mean the final results. You heard that?
Yes, and I think it's a shame. You deserve to win, Throckmorton. You really did.
Well, it's the verdict of the people, Eve. We have to abide by it. That's democracy. That's what we're fighting for.
But to lose by 3 votes, to think that just 3 people did... Oh, it's not fair.
No, Eve. No use crying over spilt milk. Let the best man win. That's what I say.
You're a good loser, Throckmorton.
I haven't much use for any man who isn't.
Well, you made a wonderful showing, and I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you. I want you to know that. I'm just as proud of you as if you'd won.
Well, I'm very grateful for your attitude, Eve. I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for your mother's attitude, too.
You must forgive Mother, darling, if she's a little overeager. I hope you understand.
Oh, I do.
You see, she's had to work hard, and her whole life's been wrapped up in us children. And now that Fred's in the service...
I know.
I'm afraid she still thinks of me as her baby. She wants me to have the best of everything.
Naturally.
And she thinks a great deal of you, Throckmorton.
I think a great deal of Mother.
Please, dear. This is something that's going to hurt you, I'm afraid. And I don't like hurting you. I'm very fond of you, Throckmorton. Terribly fond of you. What's more important, I respect you. I think you're one of the finest men I've ever known.
I like you, too, Eve.
I admire you.
Huh?
I know how you must feel, dear. This is sudden, and it may seem unreasonable, but I've thought it over, and I'm sure it's best this way. You see...
Eve, just wait a minute.
Yes?
Let me get this straight. You mean you can't marry me?
I'm afraid not, dear. Throckmorton, can you ever forgive me?
Oh, I'll try, Eve. I'll try.
Please do.
Yes, perhaps in time. Who knows? The pain will wear away, and I can learn to forget.
You're brave. You're so brave, Throckmorton.
I'll go away somewhere. Grass Lake, perhaps.
You see, dear, there were so many things. After all, there's Mother. My first duty is to her.
You're right, Eve. That's what I like about you. You know your duty, and you do it.
I could see you were never going to be able to get along with her.
Well, now, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, I could tell. And then, too, I got to thinking these last few weeks, I did a lot of thinking.
Me too.
It occurred to me that maybe this was just one of those things.
Yeah, just one of those things.
Just one of those things that was never meant to be.
Yeah.
After all, when you come right down to it, we're not much alike, you and I.
Not at all. I'm fat and you're...
No, I mean, it's possible that we just weren't meant for each other.
Sure.
Maybe it was a mistake from the start. Maybe we were foolish ever to think of it.
Absolutely. Silliest thing I ever heard. Where do people get these ideas?
Throckmorton, let's face it.
What?
You don't love me, do you?
No.
I knew it.
Yeah. How about you?
I wouldn't marry you if you were the last man on earth.
Great. Eve.
Yes?
Now that we're such good friends.
Yes?
How about a little kiss?
Good heavens, Throckmorton, this is where I came in.
Thus ends the Great Gildersleeve's campaign for mayor on the golden age of radio theater, first broadcast June 25th, 1944. And now, from your playhouse of favorites, Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island.
I, Jim Hawkins, at the request of my friends Squire Trelawney and Dr. Livesey, do hereby set down the narrative of Treasure Island. This is to preserve for posterity the particulars of what befell us there. And I remember every incident as though it had happened yesterday. But that's as may be. The proper place to begin is at the beginning, and that is where I shall begin. My father and mother ran an inn on the English coast called the Admiral Benbow. I was a lad of but 15 when a brown old seaman with a saber cut and carrying an old sea chest came to lodge at our inn. His name was Bill Bones, and we soon grew to fear him. He drank all our stock of rum and would not pay his bill. And each night in our tavern room would sing the same fearful song, ringing the rafters with it.
15 men on a dead man's chest. Yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum. Drink and the devil has done for the rest. Yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum. Oh, Jim! Jim Hawkins! Blast me, where's that lad?
Hi, sir.
Jim! You haven't seen a one-legged devil sneaking about the inn, have you?
A one-legged... No, Captain, I haven't.
Good. If you ever do, tell old Bill Bones quick as rain, and I'll give you a silver doubloon. 15 men on a dead man's chest. Oh,
My father died a few weeks later, and Bill Bones continued to drink us into poverty. We were mortally afraid of him, my mother and I, but he too was afraid of others beyond our ken. There were reports of mysterious cutthroats lurking around the premises, and when Bill Bones heard these, he turned pale. It seemed that they were after his sea chest and what was in it, so he said. Then one day, Bill Bones had a stroke and fell dead. Dr. Livesey, a great gentleman and a dear friend of ours, gave the verdict. Rum. And it seemed simple enough. It was then that Mother and I decided to take what was due us from Bill Bones' sea chest. And so we went up to his room, and I proceeded to pry it open. Ah, there it is, Mother, look.
Aye.
Here's a quadrant, a tin cannikin, some tobacco, 2 brace of pistols.
Aye. And little of great value, 'twould seem. An old Spanish watch, a pair of compasses.
Mother, this bag. It sounds like money.
Well, open it and see, Jim.
Well.
Look, why, it's... Lord help us. It's a fortune.
What's that?
Someone's at the door downstairs.
Hiya, you two. Open this door before we slit your throat. We know what you're about, eh, lad? Open it up. Come on. Oh, that's what we want. The gold that Billy Bones stole.
Jim, it's those rogues who've been sneaking about after Bill Bones' chest.
Fine, if the cutthroats catch us here, Mother, we're done.
Oh, Jim!
Let's go out the back way. Hurry, Mother, it's our only chance. I snatched up the bag of gold, and without being aware of it, a waterproof packet of papers. We ran out into the darkness and by a miracle escaped undetected by the ruffians who were forcing the entrance to our inn. Mother and I hastened direct to the house of Dr. Livesey in safety. As my mother was being calmed by the doctor's wife, I entered Dr. Livesey's study. Squire Trelawney, another friend of my father's, was there, and I poured out my story.
Well, you're lucky to have a whole skin, Jim, my boy.
Hi, Dr. Livesey, that I know.
What do you make of it, Mr. Trelawney?
Well, now, most interesting. Most interesting indeed. Shall we have a look at the papers, Doctor?
A capital idea.
God love us, Dr. Livesey. Look, it's a map of an island. Exact longitude and latitude, instructions written out, and a cross.
Yes, Mr. Trelawney. And will you note what's written under that cross?
Treasure buried here.
Treasure?
Yes, lad. And now, Mr. Trelawney, note the initials.
Captain J.F. J.F.? Why, those are the initials of Captain Flint, the buccaneer.
Exactly, Mr. Trelawney. Captain Flint, as black a pirate as ever sailed the main and cut an honest throat. And this is Treasure Island, where he buried his loot. Treasure Island.
Captain Livesey, are you game?
Game for what, Mr. Trelawney?
To go after this gold.
I'm game, sir. I'm your man. I'll go and so will Jim, won't you, lad?
Aye, aye, sir, I will.
Livesey, you'll give up your wretched practice at once. Tomorrow I start for Bristol. In 3 weeks I'll have the finest ship there is in all England. The finest ship, sir, and the choicest crew. And young Jim Hawkins here can serve as cabin boy.
But there is one man I'm afraid of.
Name him, sir. Who is the dog?
You, Trelawney.
I?
Yes. You are a man of many virtues and of but one fault. You cannot hold your tongue.
But
I tell you this as a friend, Mr. Trelawney. Those bold and desperate rogues who broke into Admiral Benbow tonight have a whiff of this treasure. They know of this map, and they'll move heaven and earth to get it. If they hear of our projected cruise, well...
Yes, Livesey. Of course. You're right.
In short, all of us must swear ourselves to secrecy. Jim?
I won't breathe a word of it, Dr. Livesey.
Mr. Trelawney?
I'll be as silent as the grave.
And thus Squire Trelawney went to Bristol and outfitted a vessel. A beautiful craft called the Hispaniola. And Dr. Livesey and I followed him to Bristol shortly thereafter. And the day finally came when we were to start our voyage. Mr. Trelawney gave me a message and told me to deliver it to an inn with the sign of the Spyglass. Here I would find the proprietor, a one-legged man called Long John Silver, who was sailing with us as ship's cook. I spied him in the rear of the inn. Mr. Silver, sir.
I am Long John Silver. Who may you be, lad?
Jim Hawkins.
Hawkins? Oh, to be sure. Cabin boy on the Hispaniola. Shiver me timbers, Jim. I'm glad to see you. You're a lad, you are, but you look smart as paint. I warrant you'll do.
Well, thank you, sir.
Now then, Jim, if you come to pass the time of day...
Well, here's a message, Mr. Silver, from Mr. Trelawney.
To be sure. Fine, hearty man, the squire. Landlubber to begin with, but seaworthy, I'll wager. Let me see. All hands aboard by 4 this afternoon.
Yes, sir. We'll be sailing out with the tide.
Fix of the mate.
What's that?
That's my parrot. Picked him up on the Barbary.
Oh.
A bass for old Flint's treasure. Old Flint's treasure.
Still that sucking tongue, you feathered varmint. I'll wring your neck.
I've heard that song. 15 men on a dead man's chest.
You have, eh? Well, 'tis a common shanty among seamen, I'll warrant. Who did you hear sing it?
A man named Bill Bones.
Bill Bones, eh? I don't know the tar and don't want to. Sounds like a proper piece of skullduggery, it does, a name like that. Oh, Jim, my lad.
Hi, Mr. Silver.
I've got my affairs to straighten. You step lively to Squire Trelawney, pay him my respects, and tell him that Long John Silver will be there at the appointed time.
I returned to the ship's cabin and there found Dr. Livesey, Squire Trelawney, and the Hispaniola's master, Captain Smollett. I told them of delivering the message to Long John Silver and jokingly spoke of the one-legged man's parrot. But this did not seem funny to Captain Smollett.
That parrot settles it, Mr. Trelawney.
What do you mean, Captain Smollett?
You've been talking. This is supposed to be a secret voyage with sealed orders. Yet the news is all about Bristol.
I assure you, Captain, I've not said a word.
It appears that you have, Trelawney, I'm sorry to say. If the parrot knows of the treasure hunt, then he got it from Long John Silver. And it's you who hired the man.
Which brings me to a point. I'm a plain man and I speak plain. I don't like this cruise and I don't like the crew you've signed on, Mr. Trelawney. I'll stake my reputation. There's many a cutthroat among them. Further, this is a hunt for treasure and the secret's been blabbed about so that every man before the mast knows it. You take gold and desperate men and they strike sparks. In short, gentlemen, there's a foreboding of trouble aboard and plenty.
I differ with you, Captain Smollett. Take this man, Silver, now. There never was a more upright man.
I'll not argue the point. I don't even know the man. But I sure smell mutiny before I begin, and I'm not the man to avoid proper precautions.
What do you suggest, Captain Smollett?
First, Dr. Livesey, we'll keep that map of the island locked and safe. Second, we'll shift the arms and powder to a hideaway under my cabin. Third, we'll keep a sharp weather eye out for treachery.
Oh, you're seeing ghosts in the dark, Captain. I tell you, the crew is of good quality and honest timber.
I'm captain of this cruise, Mr. Trelawney, and I'm responsible for the safety of this ship and the life of every man jack aboard her. You'll either allow me to take those precautions or I resign.
Very reasonable, Captain. And speaking for Mr. Trelawney and myself, we agree.
Captain Smollett, it seemed, was wrong. The ship proved to be a good ship, the voyage calm, and the crew capable and well-behaved. We all waited eagerly for the sight of Treasure Island, which might appear at any time. Then late one afternoon, I went down to the apple barrel. It was almost empty, and I went into the barrel bodily so that I could pick one up off the bottom. It was dark in the huge receptacle, and the motion of the ship was soothing, and I must have become drowsy. At any rate, I awoke to the sound of voices nearby. And what I heard froze my blood in horror.
Well, Silver, we're nigh to the island. Ain't it time to jump in now and slit their throats and make off with Captain Flint's treasure?
Look, Israel Hands. I'm captain of them who's in on this, and I'll not be hasty.
That's as may be, but quick sometimes best. When do we strike the blow?
You're a lubber with a head like a block of wood, mate. Trelawney's got the map, and without it we can't find pirates' loot. Smollett's the only man who can navigate the Hispaniola. Without him, we'd never get back.
What do we do then, Silver?
We bides our time. We'll let Trelawney and Livesey and the others help us aboard with the treasure. Let Smollett sail us back to the trade wind.
Then we jump.
Aye, athwart the beams right and proper. Dead men don't bite. I learned that sailing with Captain Flint under the Skull and Bones.
Land ho! Land ho!
You hear that, Israel? Look outside of the island. The island, aye. Treasure Island. A place none of us will forget, mate. I warrant every man Jack will remember it well.
The Playhouse of Favorites is presenting Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. In just a moment, I'll tell you why this story has new meaning for me. As a kid, I was always fascinated about Treasure Island. Stories of Long John Silver, Blind Pew, and young Jim Hawkins crouched deep in the apple barrel. Well, a few years ago, I had the pleasure of visiting Norman Island, the island about which Robert Louis Stevenson wrote Treasure Island. I didn't find a treasure there, but I did have a rather frightening experience. A couple of snorkelers and myself were doing a little snorkeling and skin diving when we were chased by what we all swear to have been a 6-foot barracuda. I would much rather have been crouched deep in the apple barrel with young Jim Hawkins than out there offshore of Norman Island, where our action takes place on the golden age of radio theater.
Thus our friends had sailed to Treasure Island to search for the treasure the old pirate, Captain Flint, had buried there. And it was just as they sighted the place that Jim Hawkins overheard a conversation that froze him with horror. A number of the crew, under the leadership of one-legged Long John Silver, were planning to mutiny, steal the treasure, and murder every honest man aboard. There were pirates aboard, and Silver himself, who had seemed as honest as the day was long, had sailed with the infamous Flint himself. Jim goes on with the story.
The moment the two cutthroats went away, I hastened down to the captain's cabin and broke the news. They were shocked, but they rose to the emergency.
I must confess I've been a fool, Captain. It was I who signed these blackguards aboard.
Aye, but in truth I was fooled too, Mr. Trelawney. I never saw a crew so well behaved. I never saw a sign of mutiny during the whole voyage. If I had,
Well, where do we go from here, gentlemen?
Well, as Jim tells us, they won't do anything immediate. We know their plans, and perhaps we can strike ourselves. We know that we can count on a few of the honest hands aboard, too. The main thing now is to keep a sharp lookout for tricks.
We passed out loaded pistols secretly to the men we were sure of. Then Captain Smollett sent a party ashore headed by Long John Silver. I hid myself in one of the longboats. When it landed, I sneaked away from the rest of the party and wandered along the shore for a while. I was about to enter the woods when I saw what seemed to be an apparition. A figure which I could not make out. Something I had never seen before. First, it was just a figure flitting through the trees. Something not quite human. Then, as it emerged from the gloom, I saw that it was an old man in tattered rags.
Stand, lad. Stand, I'll not hurt you. I'm poor Ben Gunn, I am. And I haven't spoke to a Christian these 3 years.
3 years? Were you shipwrecked?
Nay, mate. Marooned. Marooned by buccaneers. Black pirates rock their souls. I've lived on goats and berries and oysters, mate, but my heart is sore for Christian diet. You mightn't happen to have a piece of cheese about you now, would you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a pity. Many's the long night I've dreamed of cheese. toasted mostly.
Oh. What's that? That's Long John Silver and his mutiny crew.
Long John Silver? Oh, I know him well. And if I know him, he comes for the treasure Captain Flint's hid away. Is that it, lad?
Aye.
You'll never find the gold, and you can lay to that. No, you'll never find it. Old Ben Gunn'll see to that proper.
I told Ben Gunn the full story, and he agreed to help us in every way he could. Meanwhile, events transpired. Captain Smollett, Squire Trelawney, Dr. Livesey, and the honest hands had gone ashore and taken possession of an old stockade, while the pirates were holding their drunken revel. Too late, Silver learned of this, and he and his men attacked. I managed to sneak into the stockade just as the battle was tapering off.
Well, the villains have stopped firing, Trelawney.
So they have. No, we've discouraged them, I warrant. Left several of the rogues on their backs in the clearing.
Look, gentlemen, here comes Long John Silver.
Aye, Doctor. Hobbling up on his crutch and carrying a white flag. I suspect treachery, I do. Keep indoors, men. 10 to 1, this is the trick. You, Silver, stand or we fire.
Like a throat.
What do you want?
Come in and talk terms.
Then you'll come in alone with none of your cutthroats.
I trust you, Captain Smollett. No harm will come to me. You're an honest man.
All right, Jim, let him in.
Yes, sir.
Well, Silver, be quick about it.
Aye. Now then, we gentlemen of fortune out there.
Let's call a name, Silver. Pirates.
Call it what you will, Sawbones. Words but a wind. Don't fire like a gun or cut like a cutlass. Aside from that, here's the point. We've got the ship's stores, and you've lean provisions. Inside of 3 days, you'll starve.
Well, why don't you wait and starve us out then?
To tell you the truth, Captain Smollett, I'm a humane man. Hey, but you've misjudged me cruelly. Oh, come to the point, Buccaneer. You've a proposition, else you wouldn't be here. In truth, I have. It's this. My hearties out there have had enough bloodshed. They're impatient to go treasure hunting, Captain. They need your map as to where the treasure's hid.
Aye, I'll warrant they do.
We have ship stores, you have the map. We'll trade you half the stores for the map. You give us the plan. Then we'll all sail back together and forget this little quarrel. Mates again, so to speak, in an equal share in the spoil.
How do we know that you'll stick to your bargain?
Why, Captain, you have me word. Besides, you're in no position to be particular, and you can lay to that. And if we don't make this bargain? Then, Squire Trelawney, before an hour's out, we'll stove in your blockhouse like a rum punch and cost what it may in blood. Aye, you smile now. By thunder, you'll smile on the other side before we're through. Them that'll die'll be the lucky ones.
Well, gentlemen, what do you say?
I say he's got us over a barrel, Captain Smollett.
Aye, we're back to the wall. Give him the map, I say.
And the rest of you? Well, Silver, you heard.
Aye, a wise decision, mates, and you'll not regret it. A handsome transaction all around.
The moment they got the map, the pirates lost all interest in the stockade. They immediately set out to find the treasure Captain Flint had hidden years ago. I followed them through the woods close by, for I had a rendezvous to make. And I heard Long John Silver rehearse the progress they had made.
Well, lads, we're hot on the scent now.
Aye.
You'll be rolling in doubloons before you're through. Now, look, you mates. First of all, according to this Flint's map here, we found the tall tree on Spyglass Shoulder bearing a point to the north and northeast. Then, east-southeast and by east, 10 feet to the trend of the east hummock, and then 10 fathoms south of the Black Crag with a face on it. Then, according to this plan, the treasure should be hid by that tall tree standing in the thicket. Silver. Fast, mate. What's that?
And the devil is done for the rest. Yo-ho, and a bottle of rum.
Silver. That's Captain Flint's word. And that's his voice, I swear. Here's your thrill. Flint's dead and buried these many years.
Let's get out of here. Darby McGraw! Bring the rum, Darby! Or I'll
choke you with a Jolly Roger and feed you to the show.
That's Flint, I tell you. Or it's the ghost of Flint. Darby McGraw was his cabin boy. This cursed island is habited by spirits, Silver. We'd best leave easy and gentle.
Belay there, shipmate. There's 700,000 pounds through that ticket by yon tall tree. And I'll not be beat by man or devil to get that gold.
Now, perhaps, Silver, don't you be crossing any spirits. What say, my hearties? Shall we fly in the face of the beyond?
Now then, lads, let's think this out. Yon voice was no spirit now. Didn't you hear the voice echo? Now then, no man ever saw a spirit with a shadow. No man ever heard a spirit's voice echo. Stands to reason that some man out there's trying to put the fear in us. But are we afeard of any man? No. Then hold that. The treasure over there by that tall tree. Thousands of pounds, thousands of them. Doubloons and guineas and pieces of egg.
Well, Silver, you see what we all see?
Aye. An empty hole dug in the ground. Someone's been here for us.
Look here, mate. Look here. There's naught but a blasted empty hole. That's your 700,000 pounds, is it, Silver? You're the man for bargains, ain't you? You never bungled anything, did you, you wooden-headed lubber? Only Captain Smollett and the rest of the fine gentlemen in the stockade tricked you. They knew the treasure weren't here. That's why they give you the map.
But I believe them Israel hens, I swear.
Swear me nothing, Silver. Your time has come. Huh, mate?
You'd not kill a one-legged man, a man that can't defend himself.
Oh, we wouldn't. Would we now, Silver? Wouldn't we?
Stand your distance. All of your hands up. Don't take a step.
While the pirates fought among themselves, Ben Gunn and I quickly made for the vessel where the rest of our party was waiting with the treasure safely in the hold. It was Ben Gunn who had dug it up and hid it elsewhere until we could take it aboard. And to Ben Gunn we gave the biggest cheese on the whole ship. And he was the happiest man in the world. We set sail, leaving the pirates marooned on the island. But Silver was destined to lead a charmed life to the end. In the confusion of the fight, he managed to escape the pirates and slip aboard ship. But his presence was quickly discovered, and he spent the voyage in irons. It was many months later that I again came to the Admiral Benbow Inn where I was born. And there was my mother waiting for me, glad to see me as I knew she would be. I held her close and kissed her joyful tears away. And as I did so, I told her that we were rich. Rich beyond our dreams, for now we could close the Admiral Benbow Inn and open another. A new inn, 20 times the size of the Admiral Benbow. The picture I painted was reflected in her eyes. A fine place, with beautiful appointments. And we built it as she saw it. And we named it, yes, we named it, Treasure Island.
Your Playhouse of Favorites has presented Treasure Island on the Golden Age of Radio Theater. In just a moment, we'll be back to answer a listener from New York about Gary Moore. A New York listener wants to know what and where was Gary Moore's first radio show. Moore debuted on Club Matinee, a 60-minute variety show, in 1939. By the way, Gary was using his real name then, Thomas Garrison Morfitt, and at that time they had a contest to find a new name for him. A listener suggesting the change was paid a handsome $50 prize. The host of the show was the popular entertainer Ransom Sherman, who tutored Moore in the finer arts of radio comedy. That's it for the Golden Age of Radio Theater. Victor Ives speaking, inviting you to join us next time we turn back the clock to relive those golden moments of radio's yesteryear to bring you some more of the greatest radio shows of all time. Thanks for listening.
For a copy of today's program, call 1-800-326-0296 and refer to show number 37. That number again is 1-800-326-0296. And remember to refer to show number 37.